Let me get back to studio. As we are trying to reach out for our two Kenyans who are in Seattle and California to give us a feel on how they feel in matters diaspora, which has been quite a lifesaver in Kenya's economy in the last couple of years. And gentlemen, maybe still on matters diaspora, looking at the 20+ head of state that were here in Kenya, and also looking at how solid and strong our foreign policy is currently is, and even the president did extend some job to the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, being an envoy in matters Africa, in matters peace.
Well, Njue, to be very honest, you cannot downplay the place of the people living in the diaspora, especially in view of our current constitutional dispensation. Recall that even their participation during elections, which is just but a way of giving them some sense of responsibility in whatever is happening in the country, it is a creation of law so that they can continue being in touch with their families or their country. In other words, it is also to ensure that we also attract foreign currency. Remember, these people are not being paid in Kenya shillings wherever they are. They're being paid in dollars. When we bring these dollars to the current, or we pump these dollars to our economy, then we are more than likely meant to ensure that we grow our economy as far as also in making money available and accessible to all of us. So that if you look at the promises that the president had on the bottom-up approach and the economic approach, really the incorporation and the recognition of the Kenyans living in diaspora goes a long way into feeding into his dream and an ambition of ensuring that we elevate our economy, we ensure that we also ameliorate our living standards as Kenyans and Kenyans who are living abroad. So again, in view of the new job that the retired president has got yesterday. I mean, he's not a man who is going home. So unlike probably what people were thinking. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is still an employee of the government of Kenya. He will be there to ensure that we promote peace within our neighboring countries. You know too well that Kenya has been a fountain of peace. Our countries in South Sudan, our country in probably Uganda, our country in Somalia.
Yes, and let's now cross over to Seattle and California, where we have our two Kenyans, Mary Wachira, who is the president of the Kenya Diaspora Forum, and Maurice Ndole, who is the secretary of the same forum. And Mary, now at least I can hear you. I wanted to pick your mind on what you do expect in the diaspora in terms of the services that that ministry will be touching on.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Again, what are some of the mandates that you would like to see in the ministry?
Let me talk about the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, what you expect. The Ministry of Diaspora Affairs is also going to some other ministries, like the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of, do you call it there, the Ministry of, it's the Ministry of Health, because here we call healthcare, and also the Ministry of Finance. We are also going to help in unemployment, because here creating employment is our figure. If only that we are incorporated in the making of the ministry. Number two, it depends on who will be working or who will be in charge of the ministry. Because if you give it to a person who has not been in diaspora, if you give it to a person who has no knowledge of what is happening here, if you give it to a person who came back home a long time ago, like 10 years ago, then it's not going to be well because they are not knowledgeable of what's on here. Number two, we need somebody who has been a community leader, been engaged with diasporians in helping them, maybe with the sympathies of maybe shipping a body back home or helping somebody who has been in jail. So it depends on who the president, Dr. Ruto, gives it to as the leader of the ministry, and the employees who are going to be in the ministry. Then Troy, something to be careful about is that as we in diaspora, we are more knowledgeable. We cannot be corrupted. We cannot be misled. So if we find that it's not working the way we want, then we shut off. That's exactly what we. So it depends on whatever background is going to have. So he has to involve us. He to involve the knowledgeable people who have been in the community. He has to involve the pastors, maybe the people who, because that is the only gathering that people in diaspora have, where they go to church. So he has to get this knowledge from us so that he knows what kind of thing that we expect from him.
Indeed, Mary, and now let me cross over to Maurice. Maurice, before we had that technical issue, you are also fortifying what Mary has talked about in terms of what you would love to see or like to see if indeed that diaspora ministry is formed by the president.
Yeah, I do agree with what Mary's saying. I think I have the Dr. Ruto make this proclamation come because we've been clamoring for many years. And I also looking for also including the KBC. Back to the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, I think this can be bring income for because with one stroke to expand the economy, create an between diaspora, Putin have diaspora investing even much more confident because now they're going to have an outreach right next. So it's a very.
All right, we seem to be experiencing a technical issue there. That has been Maurice Ndole live from Seattle. Mary, can you still hear me? Hello, Mary? All right. The diaspora, as we try to get back to the United States, I would like to pick your mind on the same. 400 billion every year, and they only vote for the president, and not in all states, but they cannot be ignored.
Yes, the diaspora is a very huge potential for any particular country for many ways, and some of it has been highlighted by the Mary and Ndeto. And when you look at issues of foreign direct investment, trying to help the country to attract FDIs into the country, issues around trade, you look at aspects of even knowledge transfer. They got knowledge, they are exposed, and they are able to even create exchanges that bring skills into the country. You look at even other aspects of helping the country to create mechanisms of spurring business and entrepreneurship. These are entry points that they can get into. The other aspects are ambassadorial roles. That not necessarily what I mean by diplomatic roles, but ambassadorial roles that could be of significance to the country's tourism as part of building the tourism sector. So these are things that the diaspora could be of help in, and I think that it is important that even as we establish this kind of ministry, for the country not to look at it from one side. We need to look at it dual, look at what are the diaspora going to do for us and what can we be able to do for the diaspora. Because sometimes, I was once, I have had the privilege of leading an alumni being a director of an alumni directorate, and one of the things that I experience is that, you know, the moment you put people to begin to see that it is them to give and not you to give, then they keep back. And I think that that is one of the things that the country we need to reflect on. Okay. It becomes a double side.
Let's first of all cross over to California. Maurice, now you can hear me. My question was 400 billion. You just cannot be ignored. 400 billion each year. And we are talking about election. You can only vote for your president, and it's not on all the 50 plus states. Maurice?
Yeah, so that's another issue we've been clamoring for, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because the president brought it up as well, unprompted. So if we can streamline that, the IBC can maybe make an online voting process and just do a continuous voting exercise that ensures that voting is done seamlessly in areas where people are, and they don't have to travel miles and miles and paying a lot of money to vote. That would help. It would involve a lot of Kenyans. It would also help in making sure that Kenyans are engaged in a way that we don't lose the remittances that we already have in place, because the next generation, we don't know what they're going to do. So we also have to have other avenues that we are looking at. The Ministry of Diaspora Affairs can help the Ministry of Sports. We have our youth who are looking for opportunities abroad. It could be a way for us to get in touch with them, because we know the communities. Our kids are going to these sporting activities. We know the coaches who are looking for players. We know the teams that are looking for players. We also know all these orchestras that are looking for musicians and stuff. So it's a wide open market. It's just one of those big things that I don't know why we never did this sooner. But this is one big opportunity that can bring so much good to Kenya.
In a lot of foreign currency, which is quite helpful to the Kenyan economy. Would you want to see perhaps a parliamentary committee on diaspora affairs as well?
Oh yeah, a parliamentary committee with a clear mandate of what they're going to do would be helpful. I mean, I'm not suggesting this. I think Dr. Ruto alluded to this. He alluded to having a representation in parliament. That is welcome as well, because the more representation we have of good people, I'm not talking about representation from cronies who are being rewarded with a diaspora position because they are friends to the president or friends to the vice president. They need to bring competent people. If this is gonna work, it has to be done right. So yeah, so parliamentary select committee, which is going to fact find, is going to involve people like us who have actually done the work. I was involved in the diaspora policy paper, which we have ready to go. If Dr. Ruto wants to involve us in writing that, we are more than welcome to help to see what we put in place, and which can kind of speed up the things that they're already trying to do. So it is an exciting moment for us. The possibilities are out there. I don't even know what to say at this point. I think it's a very, very good thing that is way long overdue.
And maybe perhaps we can hear, Mary, as well, your sentiments on the same, because when it comes to electoral matters, you are kind of sidelined because you cannot vote in in any state that you have to go travel long distances to vote, but at the end of the day you can only vote for your president. I would like to pick your sentiments in regards to the election process as regards to Kenyans living in the diaspora.
Yes, Troy. I think I spoke in this channel about being added some consulates in the most densely populated areas where we have more Kenyans. That is the only way we can be able to register, or a desk from the consulate being brought like somewhere in Seattle, so that we can be able to register. And also in other areas like the Arab countries, and also like somewhere they did not even do voting, like Australia. So the reason, I hope you know that I was running in tech, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I decided to run is so that I can be able to represent Tetu and also bring the issues of diaspora to Parliament, so that we remove those clauses of diaspora not having representation in Parliament or in Senate. Now, it's not about representation because, Troy, yeah, we are paid much, we are paid per hour, but we want to bring the diaspora, we want to bring United States, we want to bring UK, we want to bring Dubai or anywhere else in the world closer at the right doorstep of the Kenyan government. What are we bringing in? We are bringing in exchange, we are bringing in tourism, we are bringing in dollars. You know, and maybe I think there is an oversight, or somebody did not know what diaspora has for Kenya. Let me talk about where I live in Washington. We have a doctor, somebody, I am not going to name him, who works in a Tacoma General Hospital, who is a cancer specialist. Mm-hmm. If that doctor, somebody is given a chance to talk to the doctors in Kenya, they'll know the cure for cancer, because cancer is not a big deal here. HIV is not a big deal here. And then we have like sports, like Morris said, we have a team here of Kenyan boys called Umoja FC. I would like the boys in Tetu to come and have an exchange. I would like the boys in Tetu to come and have a match. And from that match, they are given scholarships to go into one of the best universities here, because people in Kenya, they are competent. When we have them in school here, even small kids, they outdo the others. And so I was wondering, what is it that it is done here that we don't do? Because our kids are doing so well, but when it comes to implementing, we are not able to deliver. We are not able to implement. And we are ready also to have the talent and the talented, to have those people who are talented to come and have an exchange program here. I've been in one of the churches being a leader, and I am one person. If the singers there, the people who sing gospel music, see me, they know what I'm talking about, because I've been sending them out of state to go and perform there, and they go back with dollars. That is what we are talking about. We are ready to bring it to the doorstep of Kenyan government. Mm-hmm. If Dr. Ruto is ready to work with us, those who are in Azimio and those who are in UDA.
Mm-hmm. And Morris, you talked about legislation, and talking about legislation and diaspora, I will take you to something that happened a couple of weeks ago, where we saw a young Kenyan lady who was duped into a job in the Gulf, and unfortunately she was quite mistreated, and the government had to pool resources to ensure that that Kenyan is brought back. And indeed, we had these cases each and every year, but we have seen that Kenyans are still trooping to the Gulf and other countries, but the issue of mistreatment has always surfaced. And I'm quite sure as the diaspora is something that you also have noted. Indeed, we've heard of cases in the Gulf. Perhaps there are some cases in other countries. So how would you want the diaspora in terms of legislation for Kenyans who go to seek greener pastures, even in the US?
Did you lose Ben Troy? Ben Troy, did we lose you?
Oh, okay. Mary, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay. So,
all right. Morris, I was talking about legislation in terms of Kenyans who go abroad to seek for greener pastures. We have seen some Kenyans being mistreated, but there have to be a legislation, because this cannot go on. And unfortunately, these Kenyans are duped by own Kenyan agencies. So what would you want in terms of legislation for Kenyans who go abroad to look for work, not only in the Gulf, but also maybe in the US?
Yeah, that issue makes my blood boil. It is very upsetting to see a Kenyan agency setting another Kenyan to go out to be treated like a slave. Okay? So the Kenyan government has to put laws. One of the things that in the inaugural speech that Dr. Ruto gave is he talked about all these plans that he has, but then they are all going to be proclamation if there's no laws behind it. So we have to put in place laws of how recruiting happens. How do you recruit? What are the requirements for a recruiter to have to guarantee that the job that you're recruiting somebody to go and do in the Middle East is exactly what you're going to do? Because there have been cases where somebody has been told they're going to do a professional job only to find themselves becoming a maid or becoming a house help. Okay, nothing wrong with becoming a maid. If you're told you're going to become a nurse and then you find yourself being a house help, it's a very, very difficult situation to adjust to. So we need to have laws which are going to put it upon the recruiters to make sure that whatever it is they're signing up for the young ladies and the young men to go into these countries is exactly what they're going to have. The Ministry of Diaspora Affairs can play a role in that. So we can play a role of actually setting the standard of this is what the standard is. Okay, for somebody to come into Saudi Arabia, we're going to make sure that this is what we're going to do, and we're going to give them the orientation of how to navigate every new things over there, if they have trouble, where they're going to go, because the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs is going to be connected to the community already. So legislation is going to be important to make sure that we have rules that these recruiters have to follow with penalties. A recruiter who is going to recruit somebody and goes out and finds that he was duped into something that was not what they were promised to be should lose their license to operate and should face jail time with fines. And these are things we should be enforcing. They cannot break their way out of it. So those kind of rules are going to be important to bring sanity into this industry because we have unemployment. So if Kenyans are seeking greener pastures somewhere, that's a good thing. We should encourage that, but they should not suffer. And this is not just an issue for Kenya. Other African countries have found themselves in trouble in places like Libya, where they go over there and then they're captured by people who are actually engaging in slave trade. And yes, I said slave trade in 2022. So we have some issues that we have to deal with. Kenya is a very advanced African country compared to others. We should not be having problems like that at this point. We can put legislation in place to protect our people out there, and the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, if it comes to fruition and we can help in enhancing that.
Yes, and Mary, being the chairman of the Diaspora Forum, I would like to pick your mind on the same, because just as Maurice talking about, we are having more or less like slave in the year 2022. How would you like the diaspora in terms of the work that Kenyans go out to seek greener pastures? And from the look of things, you two are in green pastures, quite green. But unfortunately, some Kenyans have not tasted that green pasture. And as we have seen, we have issues when it comes to Kenyans seeking greener pastures, and especially in the Gulf nations.
Yeah, I hope I'll be able to tell you more about this, because it has been a concern to me. Number one, people going out of the country need protection, not only protection from the government, but from the agencies that take them to the said countries. There are other things that can be done, penalties. If your agency is found not to be competent, then you pay a heavy penalty to the government. But again, to which government? Kenya has been operating on a broken system. I hope Dr. Ruto, President, Rigathi Gachagua are going to start with fixing the system, because once you fix the system, I think I talked about this before, the system is the one that throws you out of the system, not the person throwing the system out and leaving themselves doing what they want. So first of all is to fix the system. The system means that if you take somebody to Saudi Arabia and they are mistreated and you are dealing with the same employers, then your license is cancelled. And when your license is cancelled, you work very hard to get your license back, because it is the same case that happens here in the United States. Let me talk about something that you don't know about United States, and maybe you know, but it has not been highlighted, about United States and the UK. I have been a leader in the community, and we've been struggling with these people who have been going through deportation. And one thing that we discovered is that the President of the Republic of Kenya signed with the United States government to deport people who are found on the wrong side of the law. Now, the wrong side of the law in a foreign country where there is racism. You might be found guilty out of racism. Don't forget that. And one thing that we have found out from the people who have been deported is that maybe somebody did not even do it, but they were discriminated. And yet, when you go to the immigration, when you go to ICE, when you go to USICS, they say that your president signed that. We want to know who signed. Is it Uhuru Kenyatta? Is it Mwai Kibaki president? And Dr. Ruto has to deal with that. You don't have to be intimidated by the Western countries to sign something like that, to get aid or something like that. You have to protect your people. Okay. If somebody in America is arrested in Kenya, they make sure they come to try him in this country, United States. Why not the same? Why are you letting your people be tried in a foreign country? You have to protect your people. And protecting your people is aligning the system and not be manipulated by the Western countries.
All right, thank you indeed, Mary. But before I let you go, ladies and gentlemen, let me pick your last sentiment, your clarion call to the new President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. Ruto, in regards to the diaspora. Maurice?
So what I would encourage Dr. Ruto in regards to the diaspora is engage with the diaspora directly. When you put together those committees, the parliamentary committee, have those parliamentary committees to work with the people in the diaspora who have actually started, who have done the work, who have already created the policy. We have created a big policy paper on that in our organization, and I've worked with other organizations as well. So work with us so that we come up with a policy that is actually organic from us, that is going to be is going to make sense to Kenya and give you the benefits that is going to be meaningful to both the people, the Kenyans, the diaspora, and Kenyans back at home. Our goal is to make sure that Kenya grows better, Kenya brings in other streams of income, expands the economy, and become the jewel of Africa that it can be.
Thank you indeed, Maurice. Your final comments, Mary?
I would like the president to be able to work with us from all countries. We are divided. We have United States, we have Europe, we have Asia, we have Africa, and maybe we have Australia. And he should be able to work with people from all those places that I have mentioned. Number two, he has to work with the right people. And number three, he has to consult us. He has to form a committee in every region so that we can be able to say what kind of diaspora ministry that we would want. Because some people like wearing a dress on an occasion, a borrowed dress. Some people would like to be nominated or to be put in that ministry where they don't even know, they don't even have an idea of what is going on out there. They have never been a community leader. They have never even tried to get somebody out of jail. So he has to work with the right people. Now, about the remittances, if he works with us, well, we are going to remit more. We are going to invest more. To explore our avenues. I talked to somebody in Dallas and told me, Mary, I can fix the Nairobi drainage for free. People are ready here to volunteer. People are ready here to volunteer to implement computerized driving. So he has to work with us, and he has to consult us. He has to consult the right people through the embassy. And that way he will be able to work well with the people in diaspora. Thank you very much, Troy. Yep. And I hope that we'll be able to expand more on this topic.
Indeed, indeed. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Mary Wachira there, the president of Kenya Diaspora Forum, together with her secretary, who is Maurice Ndole. Maurice in Seattle. And Mary Wachira is in Seattle.
Seattle and
California.
Dole is in California.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your comments, and thank you for your dollars. They are working wonders in the Kenyan economy. Good to have you.
Thank you. You have a nice day.
Thank you so much. That have been the Diaspora Voice in regards to the new government and what they would want, and in specific Remember, Dr. Ruto talked about a diaspora ministry. Well, we are waiting for the cake to be cut, and they are expectant that one of the expectations is that they will be having their own ministry, because they say they can do a lot for Kenya. Allow me now to reel in my panel of experts. We have Wambui Shadrack, who is an advocate of the High Court and a constitutional lawyer. And also we have Dr. Churchill Saoke, who is a leadership and governance expert and also a lecturer at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Before we crossed over to the diaspora, we were looking at the Kenyan pockets. And Kenyans are so much expectant. But as Dr. Ruto talked about yesterday, this is not a matter of instant coffee where we just mix and partake. This is going to take time. But looking at what he talked about makes a lot of sense when it comes to subsidies. And he did something extra by, we have the short rains coming. He lowered the cost of fertilizer from 6,500 to about 3,500. And earlier on, we were trying to look at this as being from taking with one hand and giving with the other. Because at the end of the day, if these subsidies go, it means that fuel will, which is a key component in terms of farming, prices are bound to just stay high.
Yes, these are policy choices that any leader has to make.
Delicate balancing act.
It's quite a delicate balancing act. And the question is that what does a country need most? The country needs food. The country needs to be food secure. People need to eat fast before they drive their cars. So if you want to make maybe perhaps the first thing, and this maybe could be what may have informed the head of state's thinking, is that we need to spur up the productivity of our people by ensuring that we provide for them a way in which we can grow the agricultural products, and then these agricultural products become our food. And then once we are able to accelerate our production, that production will then increase our revenue, and the revenue then can then be plowed back into cushioning other consumption aspects like the fuel subsidy and things like that. Of course, we are not saying that. We are also privy to the fact that fuel is also needed for agricultural production. But then now, it's now a balance of what will give more and what will impact more. What will give more money and what will impact more in terms of what the people really need. Yeah.
Wakila, and just to remind you is that the judges will be sworn in today. 6 judges are expected to be sworn in today, just as the president talked about yesterday. And we'll be taking a keen look on the names of the judges that we are expecting today to be sworn in. And remember, we will be beaming that live, so keep it KBC. And Wakili, as I see the time is quite running out, we're talking about the delicate balancing act that the head of state has to adhere to ensure that at the end of the day we still have our strong republic and economy. And at the end of the day, he has to look at the welfare of Kenyans who are grappling with high cost of living, high cost of fuel.
Well, the prevailing opinion out there is that the cost of living has actually, touched the roofs, and people are finding they are finding their existence in this Republic of Kenya to be very difficult. And it was hoped, and indeed this was the promises that were being made by the president during the campaign period, that he will ensure that we reduce the cost of living moving forward. But he began by ensuring that we have an almost half reduction of the prices of fertilizers, which is something that is quite commendable. In any event, it gives a sort of relief to our farmers. But again, there was some sort of clawback, if you ask me, because on one hand we are reducing the prices of fertilizer, but on the other hand we are removing the fuel subsidy. I know he made a very good argument as far as this convincing or persuading Kenyans that the fuel subsidy that we are currently enjoying is actually becoming burdensome to the Kenyan taxpayer. But even so, you will recognize, as Dr. has recognized, that indeed even the production the production of, of our farmers or farming in itself is not entirely dependent on fertilizers. It is also to some extent dependent on fuel. So that if you were to look at a modern day farmer, a modern day farmer will not depend on a djembe. A modern day farmer will probably be depending on machines or equipment. You want to mention, those caterpillars. You want to mention, there are those machines that are ordinarily used by farmers to ensure that they have improved or increased production or productivity in their farms. So by use of fuel, then in a sense it will tell you, because now the fuel prices will go up automatically, then it means the final product, since it is also influenced by fuel, will also increase. So in a sense, if you are to deeply reflect, even though I am not an economist, but if you are to deeply reflect on the implication of the reduction of the fuel, the reduction of the fertilizer or the prices of fertilizer vis-a-vis the removal of the fuel subsidy that we've been enjoying, then I think we'll return to the same position where the cost of living will still be as burdensome as we are finding it today. But well, it's a wait and see. Perhaps what I have argued previously is, I mean, if you are to look at the world, because the fuel prices are influenced by what is happening in the world, and we might not really do so much as far as the fuel prices is concerned, probably we should look at empowering the young men and young women and even the Kenyan citizens from the different areas of their areas of production, so that we ensure that we create an enabling environment, so that our young men who have been suffering from high unemployment rates get opportunities of employment. People who have been doing their small hustles, we create an environment, probably what the president said, the hustler fund. We ensure that we pump a lot of money, we enable them so well, so that even if we have an increased, prices of commodities, we have an increased living costs, then from what you'll be earning, then you will be able to surmount some of the challenges that you will be experiencing. So that is how I look at it. It is a question of making available opportunities of employment, is a question of making available an enabling environment that will ensure that all of us thrive. We ensure that we cut out all those channels of corruption. We ensure that you do not necessarily have to get like, 10 or 6 licenses for you to trade. So that if you get one, you can as well as be good to begin your business. If we reduce some of these barriers and bulk works that ensure that that give us a lot of difficulties when we want to begin our small and medium enterprises, then I think we will be good to go.
And talking about the SMEs, Dr. you do remember that the head of state campaigned on a hustler narrative, and he even promised the hustler fund, which he talked about yesterday. I want to tie this with, at the end of the day, that fund is going to help a lot of youth, if you ask me, and also want to tie it on counties and having their own sources of revenue. This is something that has come out each and every year. Counties are not quite able to generate their own money, and they have to wait for what their share from the national government, which is not always sufficient.
Yes, revenue comes from production. Without production, you cannot be able to regenerate any revenue. So the establishment of a fund like the Hustler Fund, if well implemented, will be able to accelerate more businesses and create entrepreneurial ideas that would then make people across all ages, young and old, to come with businesses that are new enough and that can create newer ways of generating resources for the national government and for the county. Because you see, even for the county government, they mainly get their revenue, apart from the one that comes from the exchequer at the national level, they get their revenue from the ones they collect, by the councils. But then, how can you increase that amount that they collect? You can only increase that if businesses increase. And this is one of the ways in which this fund, if well operationalized, then we can have many people at the grassroots level being able to create more and newer businesses. But then the issue is that it is one thing to create the fund. It's another thing to have the fund bring in and plow back the profits so that it becomes a revolving fund, as the head of state had alluded to. It needs proper ways of disbursement of the funds, proper ways of ensuring that the funds are well used by the people. We need for a lot of training on business and a lot of training on how to handle some of these small-scale enterprises. Remember that so many of these small-scale enterprises are built on informal sector, and most of these guys who are in the informal sector have no financial literacy. So there's a lot of training that will need to be done beyond just giving the finances. So I think it is a good idea that will help to promote. But then I also think that there is also another aspect that needs to be considered: the question of accelerating innovation into ideas that generate newer businesses. This is how countries that have developed across the world have been able to achieve. Look at Japan, Germany, China. It is about being able to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem where people can be able to think, create business, and once they create business, these businesses come into new ideas that can even help the country to attract foreign investment or attract what we'll call the income that is generated from export. So you have made in Kenya that is being used in Kenya and is being exported, and that then bringing money into our country.
And indeed, that's what the deputy president, now we don't have elect President Gachagua, was talking about, strengthening and making sure that what we have, we are able to sort our own issues, because looking at the fuel prices, if they jump, we jump as well. When we talk about a lot of imports, just like Venezuela, you saw Venezuela issues came about when they had to import everything, and so it was dependent, and that's how their economy kind of collapsed. And this is something that also the president talked about, gaining our own based solution, including getting our own money to invest to build the economy. 1 minute each as we wrap up.
Well, I think when we focus so much on empowering our people, we need to open them up to new ideas. And by opening them up to new ideas, this I mean that we need to ensure that we provide an easy access to institutions of learning. You see, we've been grappling with problems of our leaders not even, needing or having or possessing some of these degree requirements, or even, basic requirements, so that they can enable us move forward. You saw even the other day when they were taking their oath, some of them were even having difficulties reading what has been written on the paper. So really, I think my parting shot will be is just to encourage the president to ensure that they provide an opportunity of, some of our young men and women, people who are available to learning, to go and attend schools where Daktari is teaching freely, so that we can now get rid of this problem of innovation. Some of us are actually suffering from unemployment because we have refused to be innovative, and the reason we've refused to be innovative is because we've never been exposed to ideas. So the only thing that we know is what we just see or on TVs and everywhere. So I think we are blessing the president as he takes off the reins of power. We wish him well. Let him govern this country with some level of fairness. We should just get rid of those war drums that we were drumming during the campaigns. Let us just focus on improving the livelihoods of the Kenyans who are looking up to him.
Doc, wrap it up.
Yes, I think also mine is also to wish the president and the deputy president well, and also just to implore on Kenyans that we've come through a grueling campaign period, and this is a time now for each and every person to rise into statesmanship and patriotism. Someone once said that patriotism is the bond that binds us together and cements us together into a common purpose, and as a nation, that is what should now be the key thing that will steer us into prosperity for the sake of the future generation.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Churchill Saoke, a leadership and governance expert and also a lecturer. And we also had Wambui Shadrach, who is an advocate of the High Court and also a practicing constitutional lawyer. My name is Ben Troy Njue. Lensa Odingo has been my colleague on the bottom right of your screen. Of course, a lot we didn't be able to touch because of the time. But this is a conversation that is going to be shaping the country in the next couple of days as we also wait for the announcement of the cabinet secretaries. But today we are waiting for the swearing in of the 6 judges, and we are keeping a keen eye on that. We will be beaming that live, so keep it KBC. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media. A lot of your responses, but allow me not to sample them because of interest of time.